Welcome to this edition of Hebrew Nation News on YouTube. Every week, the world seems to be descending deeper and faster into end-time events. Listen in as Bonnie Harvey covers the news highlights of the week for a quick overview. Remember, we know not the day nor the hour, but we do know the season. Reporting to you live on YouTube is this week's report, Countdown to the Second Coming.
Welcome to another Countdown Report. Today's day is February 5. The presidency of Donald Trump, a nationalist, a patriot, an anti-globalist, has shaken the New World Order to its innermost workings. The globalists thought that they had success within their reach. As soon as Hillary Clinton became president, it would be a done deal. And Obama rushed into the UN trying to get Israel divided. What happened there? Was God saying, did God put Trump in? Why is Trump in there? It has blown everybody away on the left. It has blown the left. It has fractured the left. They're still trying to figure out how they lost. On the right-wing side, it has emboldened all patriots, all nations for nationalism, all nations to say, we don't want to be part of the globalist regime where unelected officials micromanage us and tell us what we need or what we can do, what we can't do, and we didn't even elect these people. This is the EU. The UK got out. France now has Le Pen, who is a strong candidate, drawing big crowds. And now this last week, an opposing candidate to Merkel has appeared on the scene. The EU, if one more major country leaves the EU, surely the EU will disintegrate. It was the UK, France, and Germany. They pretty much support the EU. Many of the rest of the countries, they're in the EU only because the EU gives them money. That's the only reason. Hollywood is calling for the overthrow of President Trump. A rapper is rapping about killing Donald. The State Department employee who placed a photo of President Trump in her cubicle is now forced to have police protection. She was told, don't go home, it's not safe. That is the snake pit of Hillary Clinton's State Department. The media is legitimizing violence. Ordinary white patriots are being called white supremacists, anti-Semites, racists, sexists, homophobes, xenophobes. Catholics are being urged to support Alliance for the Common Good, a George Soros-funded effort to oppose Trump for religiously persecuting Muslims by not allowing them into the U.S. How's that for religious persecution? The Muslims can rape, murder, steal, bomb, but if they can't come here, that's religious persecution. Washington Post, 3 good ways to get rid of Donald Trump. New York Times journalist joked that the assassination was taking too long. A German editor stated that murdering the White House would be a good end to the Trump catastrophe. It was revealed last week that John McCain, Paul Ryan, Marco Rubio, John Kasich, Lindsey Graham are all accepting money from George Soros. Foreign Policy magazine published an article, 4 ways to get rid of Trump, opining that the 2 best ways would be either mental instability or a military coup. The military instability effort was tried against Barry Goldwater in 1964, who also threatened the establishment. That's how long the leftist globalists have been entrenched in American politics. By now, can Trump even shake a stick at all of them? They're in the State Department. the DOJ, they're in Congress, they're in the federal courts. This will not end well. It's either a war from the outside or civil war within. Here we see the violence at Berkeley.
Extra security on hand at UC Berkeley tonight ahead of an appearance by ultra-conservative columnist Milo Yiannopoulos. The crowd has grown larger just within the past 30 minutes. Now we see campus police taking up positions there, protesters trying to tear down the barricades. KPI X-Files Phil Mateer on campus. Phil, we saw what happened a few weeks back at UC Davis. The rowdy protest there seems like could be similar thing tonight.
That's right, Alan. And take a look at it live. We're here at Sproul Plaza. Take a look at this live. They pulled back, torn down the barricades, and now they're shooting off firefighters into the theater where the Yiannopoulos is scheduled to speak. BlackRock showed up just a little while ago. I think you can see him in the background. We've got the police behind one set of barricades. You can take a look at the crowd. You see the ones with the face coverings and the sticks in the foreground. Behind them are the other demonstrators. The BlackRock people moved in just a couple of seconds ago and were trying to tear down the barriers, as you can see over there. And the question is, are they going to go for So we've got a pretty tense situation working here. The cops are remaining calm. The protests are clearly trying to clear the way, possibly to move in on the building itself, creating an unsafe situation to cancel the event. So we've got the BlackRock people out in force. They just showed up a couple of minutes ago, completely changed the tone of the demonstration, what had been largely peaceful, into much more of an aggressive and confrontational situation. And now we see the protesters, led by the BlackRock group, starting to make a move directly on the Martin Luther King Jr. student complex, where the talk is taking place on the second floor. Now, a couple of minutes ago, police had started bringing in members of the audience, escorting them into the theater, but they stopped doing that. And now we see police over to our left, gearing up. They've got possibly tear gas. I don't know what kind of stun guns they have there ready, but both sides are gearing up for a possible confrontation, it looks like. And right over there, Rick, can you take a shot over that? You see the police lining up, taking aim.
Phil, we saw this happen at UC Davis, where, now we see the officers picking up weapons that they're going to fire into the crowd, smoke grenades, stun grenades, things like that. It looks like this definite line in the sand. Protesters obviously want to shut this thing down, and they don't want them to speak. Are the odds pretty good of that right now? Are you looking at this as a situation where the protesters are in control?
There goes another rock. Look, the protesters are starting to throw things, as you're seeing. The police are backing off. My understanding from UC is that they, rather than risk any kind of problems or any safety issue, they will shut it down if that's what it requires. But as you can see, they're starting to throw flammables up onto the second floor. Some of them have gone off, some of them haven't. So that's the situation we're in right now. Police have stepped back. They're back over here towards the entrance. They're not being confrontational. Nobody's going out to confront the crowd. The question is whether the crowd is going to move in to confront the police, and that's what we're seeing.
Well, Phil, we can see that there are quite a few people there. The demonstrators obviously on the move now with their banner dressed in black. Give us a sense of the percentage of the crowd. Is it a minority protesters? Obviously, they're on the move.
Well, it is a minority group that just came in a little while ago, Alan. They do not represent everybody here, but I have to say that the purpose of the demonstration is to shut this down. That is why they're here. It's not just a protest, but to shut it down. And now they've just taken off the floodlights, and they're going for the last barrier between the protesters and the student union. Over to our left, we see the police lined up.
Those look like fireworks going off, and they're spraying what looks like a fire extinguisher.
Yeah, a fire extinguisher at the area. Over to our left, the police. Now they're starting to throw things at the UC police that are gathered over at one of the entrances behind the cover of the smoke and the fireworks.
And Phil, what are you looking at aerial shots of?
This violence was caused a speech to be shut down. Milo Yiannopoulos, he was going to speak on the injustice of sanctuary campuses, such as the UC system, where they hide illegals, they fund illegals, they take taxpayer money away from U.S. students. U.S. students have to take out loans. These sanctuary colleges support the illegals. Here is a CNN fake news. Ostensibly, this fellow is a percipient witness. Please note in here that, first of all, he said this was a peaceful demonstration until outsiders showed up.
There for part of last night, and I know what I saw, and those people were not Berkeley students. Those were outsiders, agitators. I've never seen them before. There's rumors that they actually were right-wingers. They were part of a kind of a group that were organized and ready to create the kind of tumult and danger you saw that forced the police to cancel the event. So Donald Trump, when he says Berkeley, doesn't respect free speech rights, that's a complete distortion of the truth. I mean, Berkeley opened its biggest auditorium to this right-wing Breitbart News character, this hateful, odious person, but said free speech is the most important thing we stand for. And these outsiders who caused the police to finally come in and have to cancel it.
Do you think this was a strategy by Yiannopoulos or right-wingers that they put this on so they could, in an effort to show that, there's no free speech on a college campus like UC Berkeley?
I wouldn't bet against it, Don. I saw these people. They were they all looked almost paramilitary. They were not from the campus. I've heard, I don't want to say factually, but I've heard that there was some relationship there between these people and the right wing and the right wing movement that is affiliated with Breitbart.
They were military. They were well armed. They knew what they were doing. And then he goes on to make the ridiculous, unsubstantiated, convoluted argument that the paramilitary group that showed up were actually right-wingers who wanted to shut down their own event to say, there is no free speech at Berkeley. I mean, you can see even the moderators there at CNN, they're frowning. They say, what are you saying? Are you saying that this was put on by the right itself? And yeah, this is on CNN. This is fake news on CNN. There was a stand-down order to allow the terrorism that actually shut down the event. In fact, one policeman said that the SWAT team that showed up to contain the rioters, that they were told to not even let the rioters see them. They had to stand in the student union. They couldn't even go outside. The police blamed the mayor, who blames the police, who again blame the mayor, who blames the governor. So everybody's saying that everybody else gave the stand-down order. The president of Berkeley, Janet Napolitano, remember her? Former head of the Department of Homeland Security. See something, say something. Except if it is something, and then say nothing. This is a police officer writing him. I'm in training this week, and this topic, i.e. the stand down, is all over the classes. 100% sure these guys were told to stand down and not even be in the area. They did not even want them in view, and a guy in my class said he knew a campus police officer there that said they were being assured that the protest was now peaceful and nobody was getting hurt, even though at that time several were hurt. They had no idea it was going to the degree it was going. There were several assisting agencies that didn't fall under the control of the mayor, but they were there in a supportive role and were going off the information that the UC Berkeley staff was giving them. They were extremely irritated when they found out that actually it had been a riot, people had been injured, they were there, they could have helped, they were not allowed to, and the event was called off. And this cop hopes, that the parents of the injured students sue the college. Napolitano is she is determined to use federal funds for illegals. Napolitano and UC Berkeley defied Trump's immigration law, i.e. to protect and hide illegals. And that is why Trump is saying that, he'll cut funding. He'll cut funding to these sanctuary campuses that don't follow his orders. In fact, now the latest news right now is he'll cut funding to California. Trump's cancellation of visas were blocked by federal judges in Massachusetts and Washington State. Washington State, Seattle is becoming an epicenter for this fight for the immigration. The federal judges, they have been appointed yes men for I'm not sure. I know under Bush too. A friend had a friend who was being considered for a federal seat. This friend had a large business. He was very well connected. They were friends of ours. His friend, an acquaintance, was applying for a federal judgeship. He was investigated and talked to. He was screened. The guys who screened him came back. One of the guys said, "I want you to know you're an excellent candidate." But they don't want excellent candidates. They want yes men. On that basis, I cannot recommend you because I know that you would vote your conscience. And he did not get the appointment. That was under Bush too. So how long have the federal judges been screened for, they're just be order takers. They're just like a waiter in a restaurant. "May I take your order? How am I supposed to rule on this?" "Yes, sir, coming right up." One blocked immigration order. Trump says the DOJ will challenge the block in order to protect the American people. The law states whenever any class of aliens would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may suspend entry or impose restrictions as is necessary to protect the citizens of the United States. This issue is going to be headed to the Supreme Court. That's another fight. I mean, with Justice Scalia having been many people say it. I mean, he's there with a pillow over his face, and he's lying on top of the bed. It doesn't make any sense. Was he murdered? Many people are asking that questions. No autopsy, cremated immediately. Bada bing, bada boom. Nothing more said. The mainstream press. There were 21,000 hits or so in the first 24 hours. After that, nothing. They were told to shut it down, shut the issue down. There's nothing on it. So with that kind of action going on, the Supreme Court is going to be a big tussle. President Trump wants to remove the welfare carrot. Taxpayer-funded programs that benefit illegal immigrants cost $100 billion a year at least. Trump weed out immigrants who are not self-sustaining. A second draft order under consideration calls for a substantial shakeup in the screening and controlling those who enter the country, enter the workforce, to reduce the social services burden on U.S. taxpayers. I understand from those who write in that these laws already exist. They just haven't been enforced. I don't know when was the last administration that enforced any such laws. Also, remove the jobs carrot. Executive order on protecting American jobs and workers by strengthening the integrity of foreign worker visa programs. Eliminating the jobs magnet that is driving illegal immigration. The order would rescind any work visa provision not found to be in national interest or in violation of immigration. A Cato Institute study found that refugee men are employed at a higher rate than their U.S.-born peers. Remember, and we have discussed before, in the global writings, they admit their number one problem is the United States, both the strength of the American economy and the American military. If we, the globalists, are to rule the world, we have to first get rid of America. And we will do that by attacking her economy and her military. So we've seen NAFTA, CAFTA, all these trade agreements that detriment the United States. We have and give our jobs away. We have seen they can make it over there and ship it back to us cheaper than can be made here. No tariffs on it. Our military force is, pre-World War II levels. Is Trump being stymied? He's now facing pushback from GOP on both tax cuts and Obamacare. Now saying they'll just fix Obamacare and not repeal it. The UN ambassador to the UN said the sanctions on Russia will remain. I think this is a big deal. Can Russia take much more of U.S. sanctions? It was right after that the Chinese moved their ICBMs to the Russian border, says Stephen Ben-Noon on my conversation with him last Friday. Russia says those ICBMs are no threat to us. We're partners with China. Besides ICBMs, they are incapable of hitting a certain minimum circumference around their placement. They're intercontinental, so they have to travel first. So likely many parts of Russia simply could not be hit by these ICBMs. But who are they for? Are they for the United States that's squeezing them into starvation? And that's what the globalists want. They want to bring Russia to its knees because Russia has been incalcitrant. And they have refused to agree to the globalist plan that there would be a big war. This is from Stephen Ben-Noon, who had a high-ranking German official sitting in his office. Plan A was a big war between the U.S., Russia, and China, wherein 80 to 90% of the citizenry would be killed. Well, the United States says, sure, do it, let's do it. Russia and China said, no, you can't kill our citizens. That's the extent to which we've been sold out. Plan B was global warming. Okay, let's get everybody behind, the planet is dying, etc., etc. So everybody needs to get in a global effort and agree to global governance in order to save the planet. Well, then it comes out that the numbers are fudged. It comes out that every time there's a global warming conference, there's a snowstorm. It comes out books like, how much CO2 are human beings really responsible for? Probably less than 0.5%. So, is that the causative feature? Other people are saying, these global warming papers don't even question what the sun is doing. And the sun really drives the earth weather. So why don't we look at the sun, see what the sun is doing? So anyway, Plan B is fell apart. So they're looking for Plan C, which is, I think it's attack America. I mean, and that brings to mind both the visions of Henry Groover and David Wilkerson. And the European-Russian border is continuing to be built up. Germany just sent a huge shipment of arms to Lithuania, says Stephen Ben Noon. And was it Gorbachev, previous premier of Russia, said, looks like the world is headed for war. And I think he's right. The world press weighs in on Trump. These are globalist controlled people, and this is their response to Trump. If you hear something in the background, it's my dog snoring on the floor. What's happening in Antarctica against this backdrop? If you haven't listened to this report, please do. This is the Hagman report. This is Steve Quayle and L.A. Marzulli discussing what's happening in Antarctica. Steve Quayle says he's in contact with someone down there. He said there's a steady stream of world leaders, ambassadors being summoned here or coming through here. And you have to ask why. What are they doing down there? Who has the power to ask world leaders, the shakers and movers of the globe, to go down to the most inhospitable? That's a hard journey, to go down there to the bottom of the world. What, to get marching orders for the global government to come? Is something big on the horizon here? There's increased, I mean, what are these things in the picture here? Are there pyramids down there? And the Antarctica connection, I don't think can be overlooked. To swear allegiance to a leader is the Antichrist? I don't know what's down there. I certainly have a lot of questions. If God did put Trump in, is he saying to his people that prayed for Trump, is he saying, okay, I'll give you Trump, but by Trump you'll see that the problems you have are so big that only I can fix them? That's what I'm wondering if we're in the process of seeing. Trump is trying. The globalists are well entrenched, well funded, and supported by superhuman power, and that power is not benign. I think Trump is in a shark bowl of globalists. And as time goes on, he goes in there, he's the odd man out. And as time goes on, is he going to find that he is less and less able to effectuate the plans that he wishes, the good way? And even more important, are God's people going to realize that we shouldn't be calling for a human leader? We should be calling for the divine leader to come and rescue this world. When the children of Israel were in Egypt, it's when they all cried together that it says that their cries reached heaven. So maybe it's when all of God's people now, Christians and Jews, when they cry together for deliverance from this world, maybe that's when we shall be delivered also. But first of all, we have to realize there's no human answer to this. So that's all for this week. Please be safe. Please pray for President Trump. But I think we face challenges. But it will be the best of times and the worst of times. We who are privileged to harvest the earth, we will see more glory, more divine miracles, more amazing acts by God than even Moses saw. So please take heart. The best times are just ahead of us. I'll see you next week.